News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Okay, we've got some real serious stuff going on. And it has everything to do with the Middle East and Hamas and Iran and Hezbollah being taken out one by one, little by little, by the Israeli government. And I mentioned that I actually got in depth in this yesterday, and I was in depth in it the day before, and I'm very, very... my boss and I were talking about it. He really suggested I talk about this today to start the show off, and I'm like, this is freaking my forte. Absolutely, I love this. I'm a fish in water. And there's real reason to be concerned because tonight the Pentagon has deployed a carrier strike group and war fighters, jets, fighter jets into the Middle East because we are on the precipice of war, possible all-out war in the Middle East. And how is that happening? It's happening because Israel is taking out the people that killed it invaded its country, broke the ceasefire. There was a ceasefire on October 6th. On October 7th, the ceasefire was broken when the terrorist group Hamas, trained in Iran and armed in Iran and funded and armed through Iran, went in to Israel and killed 1,200 Jews and raped them, cut them apart while they were alive in front of their children and husbands, threw their babies in literally in ovens and turned the ovens on, gang raped women and shot them towards the end, in the middle of the rape, and in some cases gang raped them, cut their breast off, and played with it. These are satanic, wicked, evil people. And Joe Biden is in his opinion, and Kamala, they are so close to achieving a ceasefire that they don't want Israel to kill the people that are responsible for this. They want them to stop so that they can get an achievement and have a crown on their head for the election to get Cackling Kamala the election. And so what happened was, as you know, the head of Hamas, the political negotiator, one of the three billionaires who runs Hamas, not from the country. They're billionaires who are starving the people of Gaza because they got people of Gaza voted for them and support them 72% after they did October 7th. So they loved the rape and murder and kidnapping of the Jews. That's 3/4 of every Gazan, just so you know. Anyways, one of the billionaires, the one in charge of the political negotiations and everything, the top guy, Ismail Haniyeh, went into Iran, shook the new president of Iran's hand at in his ceremony, went back to his Iranian compound where high-valued people are put up by the Iranian government at the behest of the president and the supreme leader, and then a bomb that was planted in his room 2 months ago by the great Mossad and or Shin Bet or both, blew up and killed that number one guy of Hamas. It was a miraculous victory, and it let Iran know what time it is. We can kill anyone, anywhere, and blow up anything in your country whenever we want. And you are lucky that we are meekness, which is power under control. Also, Joe Biden told them not to, and because they did that, Joe Biden said last night on the tarmac, breathtakingly, that Israel is not helping. It is not helping the negotiations by freaking killing the most important man in charge of everything that came in and killed 1,200 Jews in one day. And still has 8 American Jews, Jewish Americans or Israeli Americans in custody, and as many as 150 or so hostages still alive. The women are being sexually tortured, according to the UN, right now, that are in captivity. They're being put up in regular civilians' homes. And the people that are holding them captive, whether they're civilians or not, they're having their way with them in any sexual, torturous way they want. And Joe wants them to be quiet. And then from the north, another Iranian proxy, trained, armed, and everything, is Hezbollah. And they put a bomb on a playground of 12 people. They killed 12 children. I watched the video. It's horrific. Today or yesterday, I can't remember. Everything's blending together. And Joe said, don't strike back. They said, don't strike back. They bombed you and killed 12 of your people on a playground in northern Israel. Don't strike back, and especially don't hit Beirut, the capital. And guess what they did? The guy that was in charge of it all, they killed him. Guess where he was? Beirut. They said, F you, they flipped in the bird, and they did what they had to do to protect themselves from a terrorist attack and wartime attacks. And Joe got mad at him again. And guess what else they did? Joe and Kamala have cut off their bombs. Remember that? The 2,000-pound bombs? They said no more. And guess what? 3 weeks ago, they used one of those 2,000-pound bombs that Joe and Kamala stopped giving them. They have a limited amount. And they used it because they thought there's two people in charge of the entire Hamas organization in Gaza, okay? There's the ones inside of Gaza, and that is Mohammed Def and Yahya Sinwar. Those are the two in charge, okay? They made the plan specifically, and they executed, okay? And they dropped the 2,000 bomb that Joe and Kamala don't want them to have anymore on, and guess what they found out 3 weeks later? It took them 3 weeks to confirm. They freaking killed Mohammed Def. That's the top two people. One of them's dead, and the number one of all, the big fat Jabba the Hutt guy, he's dead too. You understand what's going on here? They're killing the people that killed them, and Joe doesn't want them to, and Kamala doesn't, and she lectured them. In fact, one of the editorials in the Wall Street Journal yesterday was Kamala's gift to Hamas. Hamas kills Jews and rapes them. You understand me? Joe and Kamala are more sympathetic, and she was on doing an interview after she blew off the Israeli president when he came to do a joint session of Congress. She blew him off. And the next day she said he's making these people eat grass and farm food, which is a complete lie. And in fact, the editorial says, what other enemy in wartime in the past 100 years has fed their enemies while they're bombing them and at war with them? What other enemy has... it's cheaper to buy food in Gaza right now than it is in Israel. And these idiots, and this idiot who wants to be our president, is telling them not to defend themselves. What would you say to somebody that told us after 9/11 to stop bombing in Afghanistan and stop going after bin Laden? What would you tell them? What would you say to them if they said, how dare you take out bin Laden? We were almost close to peace with Afghanistan and the Taliban. You would flip them the bird, wouldn't you? Well, that's what Israel did without saying it. They just did it. Because they have huevos, cojones, and Joe and Kamala don't. They have incompetence. Now, because of this, Iran is about to attack in a way it hasn't done since April, where they sent 300 missiles and drones, one-way drones and 300 missiles in one massive volley within like an hour, and a massive attack. Our warships had to come in there, and they had to help shoot they're SAMs, but they're cruise missiles or whatever, or missiles from the aircraft carriers to take out their missiles, along with Israel and its Iron Dome that Joe voted against back in the day. Didn't want to have, and other thing, David Sling, all these things they have, okay? And so they stopped it, and Israel barely got scratched. They almost had nothing. They had just a few scratches. And so for this, for taking out the terrorist, they came out with three of them. So they got the guy in Hamas, in Hezbollah in Lebanon, who bombed their kids a couple days ago. They got the guy who was tied for number one in Gaza a couple weeks ago with a bomb Joe and Kamala wanted to have. And they got the guy in charge of all of Hamas in Iran, of all places, in Tehran. So this is amazing, and Joe doesn't want any of it. You see that? He wants them to lose, to shut up, and to agree. And he wants the people that slaughtered and raped them, are still raping them and kidnapping them and holding them captive. He wants them to agree and let them stay in power. Can you believe this? And he's mad because he wants his political gain. He wants the Democrat Party to keep in charge, and he wants to have a legacy. He does not care about our Jewish friends, and he does not let people do what he would let us do, which is freaking save our you-know-whats and kill the people that kill us. Amazing, isn't it? So I have questions for you on this. Do you think this appeasement from Joe and Kamala, which has set all this off, could lead us to a Middle East war? Could all this be leading us to a Middle East war, in your opinion? And would you put it past Kamala and Joe to try to hang on to power by getting us into a war. Would you put it past Kamala and Joe right now to try to hang on to power by simply just getting us into a war? So at least, because wartime presidents are often more bulletproof in election time. And what kind of an effect do you think it would have on the election if war begins here in a week or two or three? I'm going to tell you what I think, and I don't think it necessarily will redound to the benefit of Democrats. And I'll tell you why next. Lines wide open. Chime in right now, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. We have deployed fighter jets tonight at the behest of the Pentagon and the U.S. SecDef Lloyd Austin. He has approved sending additional Navy cruisers and destroyers, which can shoot down ballistic missiles to the Middle East. And Europe, he's also sending an additional squadron of fighter jets to the Middle East. The USS Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group in the Middle East was once, when it completed its deployment, it was going to come home, and that was it. But now they decided to rotate in the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group to replace it, or as if I were on that ship, I'd call it the Babraham Lincoln. Wait, hold on here. My producer's looking at me like horrible, stupid dad joke, right? Yeah. Hold on. This computer's like a hamster on a wheel. I clicked it, I'm watching it, and it's like not doing anything for like 5 seconds. And I'm grateful that I've got, what's his name with me?
What the hell are you thinking?
Dr. Phil, to help me, back me up on that. Thank you, Dr. Phil. Anyway, so the Pentagon said it will also increase readiness to deploy more land-based ballistic missile defenses. Here it is. We are on the precipice of a Middle Eastern war. Tonight, though, here's the other thing. This new piece of the puzzle that came out, that was about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. This is another piece of the puzzle that came out about 45 minutes ago to an hour. Iranian state TV tonight strongly signaling that an attack could come in the overnight and early morning hours. So either tonight, overnight, midnight, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, or early morning, 6, 7 a.m. this morning, Iran could unleash another massive attack. This one's suggesting it could be coordinated not only like it did before with 300 missiles and drones at Israel, but it also could be what I heard yesterday from one of the intel sources I follow that is completely almost 99.9% right. Because of their connections, it said last night, and what I told you last night, I was right. I told you this last night about this attack that was impending, and I was right. And here we go. The next night on the show, you find out they're deploying all these warships and fighter jets to the Middle East to bolster the defense. So Iranian state TV signaled that tonight, overnight, or early morning hours of tomorrow morning, the attack will be coming. A news anchor with Iranian Channel 3 said, quote, and this is all state TV from the government, quote, in the coming hours, the world will witness extraordinary scenes and very important developments. At the same time, Israeli media, this is from Zero Hedge tonight, at the same time, Israeli media has reported another big development related to Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon. And this shows you that there's going to be coordination, most likely from Hezbollah, and maybe the Houthis are going to, you might see a 3 or 4 front attack tonight, tomorrow morning at Israel, and we will be there, and we're going to be doing what we did before. You're going to see missiles going up from our carrier strike group and other stuff going down that we're going to be assisting. The Iranian-backed group has also reportedly, well, let me continue on. Hezbollah is evacuating its senior personnel from the terror group strongholds in the southern suburbs of Beirut in anticipation of potential Israeli strikes, because they're going to strike back if they get hit. And then Arabic media also reported that Friday, so it writes the Times of Israel today. The Iranian-backed group has also reportedly moved. Hezbollah has also moved the military equipment it stored in areas further away from the Lebanese capital. So they're preparing to attack and to be attacked. And, we don't know if this will be what it did in April, where it was a huge show of force, but did nothing. We, the United States and Israel, repelled it. My question is, could this all lead to a Middle East war? And would you put it past Kamala and Joe to try to hang on to power through this election by getting us into a war? Supposedly, the people that go to war, the presidents, are hard to get rid of in wartime. I'm going to tell you why I don't think that's going to happen if we go to war. By the way, the other question is, if we do end up going into a war before the election, what kind of effect do you think it would have on the election? I actually think because it's Joe and Kamala, but Kamala is not the president, I cannot see, and I could be wrong, God help us, I could not see Americans wanting to put in a woman who's never done any foreign policy experience whatsoever, and whose only foreign policy experience that she's shared and done actually is saying I was the last person in the room on the Afghanistan stuff that said we're going to abandon it, leave everything overnight, and you saw the disaster unfold that the world saw, which begot Ukraine being invaded by Russia because they saw the green light that we were running away like a dog with its tail between its legs. And you also saw Hamas invade Israel and attack at Iran's behest because we were appeasing them under Joe Biden. We let them pump all this oil. So I think there's a good chance it might hurt them because Kamala would be stepping in and she's not the president. So you're not holding on to her and you're not holding on to Joe. And I think people would be afraid to give her the keys to an international war. The other international policy she's done is she was the border czar. And that's not according to me. That's according to almost every liberal news media outlet. The headlines are ad infinitum. We shared them when that came up. And they were trying to say she was never the border czar. And then I played you like a 3-minute clip of CNN and MSNBC 2 different times from 2 different people on their network that work for them saying she's the border czar and she's in charge of the border, and the person in charge of the border is the border czar. That's literally the definition of czar. So, and also they called her the point person for the border. So she is, and since she took over, 11 to 14 million people have invaded us, including terrorists and rapists and murderers and such all over the country. So I don't know. I don't think it's a help. By the way, here's another thing. This is a big bonus for Trump's hat, good feather in his hat. North Korean defector, a senior North Korean diplomat defected recently to South Korea, and he said he believes Kim will be willing to restart talks with Trump if he retakes the Oval Office. Kim looks up to Trump. He likes him, and he respects him, and he fears him. He certainly doesn't do that with Joe, and he's going to do more nuclear talks if Trump gets in. And he said that already, according to one of his top advisors that fled. For obvious reasons, you don't want to stay there. If you look at the guy the wrong way, you're going to be put in a torture camp. It's disgusting. We talked about it one night when some of those prisoners were freed and they drew diagrams of what it was like. It's worse than any horror movie you've ever seen, what they do to their people. It's so sad and horrific. All right, coming up next on the Chris Crock Show. If we were on the precipice of war tonight and tomorrow morning, I would be talking about this first. 12 days. For 12 days, Kamala has been hiding out. We're entering the 13th day as of tonight with no press conference, no sit-down interviews, no nothing, even though she's announced for president and she officially got the candidacy tonight or today from the DNC. And last night she spoke for the first time unscripted. And she had a tremendously embarrassing, horrible word salad. Her own people they did a transcript to read out, and they changed the words so she didn't look like she was incompetent. They literally changed. They do that for Biden when he says things that are like, what did you just say? Remember that? And they've deleted things and they've redone the transcripts. And then the press calls them on and they go, oh, wait. So they did that for her. You're going to love this. But you're going to hear it yourself. You probably have by now. If you haven't, it's unbelievable. This woman can't talk for literally 20 seconds without repeating the same thing at the beginning and in the end. She can't even just say, Joe's done a great job on this. I'm proud of our accomplishments. Thank you, Joe. She can't just say something like that. She literally embarrasses herself and our country. It's unbelievable. The woman is vapid. Okay. We'll get to all that. But, then also, guess what? 2 of her besties are on tape. You're going to hear it. 2 African-American black activists saying F, the full word, F the white women. And they're laughing about it. It's incredible. So, and there's so many things. There's I'm going to give bullet points. 24 more hours, and unbelievable things are coming out more and more about her, and none of them are good. They're all very bad. All that next, and it's going to keep coming. There's going to be another bunch of hits for another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks. You're going to see wow. You can't keep up with it. All that's next on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820, and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. It broke a second ago. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin revoked the plea deal at the behest of Joe Biden for the 9/11 plotters that would help them avoid the death penalty. And Austin signed an order that relieves the overseer of their authority. Austin now assumed direct oversight of the case. It puts the death penalty back down on the table. Guess what? What did I tell you last night when we talked about this? I think it was last night, or was it the night before? I can't remember now. Everything's been a blur for me this week. And I told you that Biden could absolutely had the ability to do the death penalty, to take over this case. He's the commander in chief. It's his military. And I played you a soundbite last night from ABC News that said literally that. It said that it said he had the ability to do this and that, and basically a year ago he had a chance to do something and he's let it go, and here it is, and that's the new thing. So it was obvious that he had power, according to that report, and I knew it and you knew it. He's the commander in chief. Who's prosecuting? The U.S. military. He runs it. So he took it away because he got his you-know-what handed to him by us, by the country, and by the victims. And I told you that death penalty is not for recidivism. It doesn't for U.S. citizens and terrorists alike. It is not for recidivism. It doesn't discourage people from doing it. It is not cheaper, but it is justice. It is what the people of the United States of America, or in Texas, or whatever state you're in, decide on in our laws, and then separately a judge, not even a judge, a jury decides if they are guilty and if they are a punishment of death is appropriate. And it is done soberly. It is not done out of revenge. Hear me closely and importantly. I'll yell it because it's that important to me, but I'll just say it. Hear me, listen to me closely. This is not revenge. And if you do it in revenge, you have no business making the decisions. It is justice. And justice is to put these Satanists, I really call these people that worship a false god and regale in slaughtering people, innocent people, they are satanic to me. And they just are. They're evil. And so they need to be put to death. That's evil. You kill evil. You don't negotiate with it like Joe and Kamala do. You don't appease it like Joe and Kamala do. You kill it. If you capture it and you want to interrogate it, to get information out of it, to get a greater source, to kill the higher source, that's fine, a higher level. But anyway, so this is a decision made by the victims of 9/11 and the unions and the firefighters and the police, and I'm so happy that they did that and pushed for it. I'm so happy. And these terrorists listen, they're cowardly. I can't talk. They're cowardly and they're afraid of death. Because it's not a jihad. It's not they blew up so young. Oh, they blew up so young. These poor people. Hold on, I got to follow up with this. Where was it? Here you go. Oh, they blew up so young. These poor terrorists. No martyrdom here. You're dying. And you'll have a date of your death. And you're going to fear it. And you're going to go to hell. And you're going to realize there are no atheists in hell. Isn't that great? Yeah, I had to think about it for a second when I first heard that. There are no atheists in hell. When you get there, you realize, oh, crap, I think there's a God. I'm screwed. It's too late. There are no, and maybe you already knew that right away when I said it, but I was like, I'm a little simpleton sometimes. I was like, what? Oh, I get it. You get there and you realize, oh, crap, I made the wrong decision. Too late. So that is excellent. Oh, look at this. They just scrubbed Josh Shapiro. He's going to be announced as the vice president on Tuesday. By the way, the mayor... He's the governor of Pennsylvania. The mayor of Philadelphia, one of her staff members. This is the Democrat incompetence with the Democrat machine and the sycophants in there. One of the mayor of Philadelphia's assistants literally put out a commercial that announces it's him and celebrates it's him today. And the announcement's set for Tuesday in Philadelphia. Don't you love this? There's your big city liberal Democrat. High violence, let out the criminals, and you don't know your butt from a hole in the ground. So it's Josh Shapiro. They're scrubbing his serving for the IDF from the Wikipedia page. Damage control has been turned up to the max. It would be a shame if the Democrat base found out. I just retweeted that. Follow me on Twitter at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show, CHRISKROK. Now, here's the deal. Let's get back into this, though. Kamala. She is in a bad way. She's been hiding for 12 days. Now, I know she's got her honeymoon period. Her polls are soaring, and she's raised $312 million. I'm not denying that or pretending. But she's hiding out. She's almost in her 13th day will be tomorrow since she's announced she's president running, and now she's officially, and she hasn't done one sit-down interview, not one formal press conference, not even an appearance, and then afterwards, press that are there can ask her questions for 20 minutes, something. She can't do those at all. She has this, when she goes to the script, she's like, I'm powerful, I'm strong. Look at me. She's reading the script. If Joe could read half the time, he would be fine. You know, he struggles because he's old. She can't talk extemporaneous. When she does, it is an absolute disaster. Here we go. This is her last night. She had one moment to try to shine. Joe's like, okay, here you go. And she talks about, this is on the tarmac with the prisoners that are brought home. They're not prisoners, the hostages. Our hostages brought home in exchange for terrorists. The Wall Street Journal said they called them terrorists, spies, and what was it, like terrorists, spies, and scammers were set free in exchange for prisoners and weapons traders. So they negotiate with that. Anyways, so Kamala's hiding. She did not appear at the NABJ, the National Association of Black Conference. She blew off, and Trump didn't. DePaul University media studies professor told Fox News the Harris campaign is well aware that Biden dodged the media throughout this 2020 campaign and still got elected. The Harris campaign is also well aware their candidate doesn't do well in unscripted settings. Not to mention that a presser or legitimate sit-down interview would necessarily require her to defend some of her positions because she's flip-flop on everything like John Kerry did. That's why he lost. Not to mention a presser that legitimate sit-down interview would necessarily require her to defend some of her positions, previous statements, and record. Thus, a rerun of the basement Biden campaign sounds pretty good as long as you can throw in a couple of rallies with Megan Thee Stallion, the rapper who sings about her wet blank P word and her big fat P word and twerks. Harris doesn't feel pressure to do a press conference because she has fallen into the nomination because Democrats will support her either way. He said the supporters rallying around her don't expect her to be accountable or have interest in her policy decisions. Coming up next, you're going to hear several things, and none of them are good. Two black activists that have visited the White House and Kamala over 50 times in the past 3 years or so, who had a live Facebook or a live Zoom meeting and streamed it with people while one of these activists that visited Kamala and Joe tons of times said F white people, the full word, you'll hear it, and F white women, and then they laugh about it. And she makes fun of them with their trailer parks and, you know, Trump people own the trailer parks and this and that. Well, they had 164,000 white women hopped on a Zoom call last week for white women answer the call. Well, you're being told F white women. But, I mean, if you want to, and unfortunately, like a lot of these Karens in the Democrat Party, white women, white suburban wine moms that vote for this stuff and want abortion to be important, I think a lot of them do think F white women. I swear to you they do, because I've played you these struggle sessions, which originate from communist China, where they're like, you have to have a struggle set. They're going to take you in a room and they're going to program you and brainwash you and kind of mentally beat you up into bowing down to the brown shirts, the communist thugs on the streets for Mao. And that's what they did. And so this is a struggle session where I've played you audio of these white women being shamed, being called racist in the room. These rich white women in this table in a beautiful home, and this black lady is telling them how they're racist, and what you just said was racist. And it's like, and everybody watching is like, this is insane. Are you kidding me? And the white woman's like, oh, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Oh, like they had that thing, like they want you to bend them over and lash them. like Jesus when he was being whipped. I'm telling you, they believe all this. I have a dear, close, beyond close relative who is that liberal, and he told one of my beyond close people in my sphere that, hey, my son got pulled over, but I know he's white, so I told him, you're white. And my cop, this cop person's like, he didn't know what he's like. What are you talking about? He just walked away. He's like, you're saying that I somehow am going to treat your son differently if I don't know him because he's white? What do you freaking? I mean, it's like, what do you do with that? That's a mental illness. And this is a white person that has a combined income of between $300,000 and $400,000 in two people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, who are you? What do you do? This is their faith. This is their religion. The problem is this stuff comes out and the average person goes, oh my gosh, this is who you get advice from and who you have meeting with you in the White House. Second of all, the economy is, fears are growing the economy will collapse from the Daily Mail. Wisconsin voters are seething over out-of-control housing prices, and most of them are blaming in Wisconsin, where she needs to win there. They're blaming Kamala Biden for this, and they compare, even though if they haven't voted for Trump, they voted for Biden in the past, and Hillary, half of them are saying, I'm not voting, or the other half are saying, I'm voting for Trump, even though because it was good under Trump. We have the jobs report today is horrific. The unemployment went up, and recession is triggered according to the SOM rule, which I'll explain coming up next. And Wall Street admitting the biggest economic shocker: all the jobs in the past year have gone to illegals. We're in a bad way, and all over Fox Business, CNBC, all the business networks. There's a possibility of us going into recession based on what they just found out today. So remember, we got to just keep voting Democrat. It's working. We're almost there. We're so close. If we keep voting Democrat, the gap's gonna close, and we're gonna do great with this economy. We're so close, guys. It's working. Can you feel it? We'll get to that next. You'll hear the audio and stuff, and there's a ton of quick hits on all these things coming out about Kamala and positions she said. I got audio of her supporting sex change, not supporting it, forcing taxpayers to pay for sex change in prisons and putting men who say they're women in women's prisons where there's rapes going on because of that. So you'll hear all that next. It's amazing what this woman stands for and what she's pretending she doesn't stand for anymore. Next. Okay, I want to play this audio, then I'll give you details. Here are two black activists who say F the white woman, full word. They laugh about it, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. These two ladies have visited with the White House and Kamala over 50 times combined in the last 4 years or 3 years, whatever it's been, 3.5 years. Here it is.
They got him all the way there to Wall Street. He did that. And we sitting there talking about the white women, forget the white women. They're going to do what they white men tell them to do.
They're going to
They got them all the way there.
Hold on. They're going to do what the white men tell them to do, the white women. Wow. So go vote for them. These 168,000 on a woman on a white women for Kamala call last week, and she says F them. And then if you here's what some of the things that they have said. Here we go. We have to change our strategy. We got to get our people. We have to get they got their people. They got all the trailer parks covered. Talking about white people. Let them all up in all of them up in West Virginia in the hills. They're covered. They got them all the way to Wall Street. Trump did that, and they're sitting there talking about white women. F the white women. They're going to do what the white men tell them to do, what they tell themselves. They'll be in their smiling faces. They want to stay in charge. I don't care nothing about them. We got to do what we got to do. If they have another women's march, I'll go there and blow it up, she said. And that's not, here's another thing. She went on to say, talk about Biden, should he win the election? That was a week or two before. Her group, she's an activist group out of D.C., got to start organizing to make sure the next president of the United States is a black woman. And it's not going to happen if we don't reach all our black people, because they're the ones who will put her in there. Those white folks ain't going to put her in there. Am I surprised? Am I frustrated? They said about Trump and race and white privilege stuff. Oh, yeah. We still have to find a way to get up and deal with it. What I'm not interested in doing is what I did She said to her friend in 2016 is have these fruitless conversations with my white girlfriends who want to tell me they need to sit down and have a conversation. No, we don't. You need to talk to your sister. Go talk to your cousin. I have no interest in understanding why white folks do what they do. They do what they do because they're going to do what it is in them. They're fighting this. Anyways, it goes on and on and on. They're fighting to stay in charge and in control. That's what they're doing. I ain't mad at them. What I am is mad at us. Near the end of the Zoom call, she said it's the perfect time to mobilize black voters to push their agenda because there's a lot of white guilt money out there. I'm going to take it, put it in my community, and radicalize my people so they can come for your job. I'm saying it's time to act. By the way, one of the two women I'm quoting here from Fox News in this online meeting, you just heard some of it. One of them had comments about white women. In addition to the white woman comments, one of them also lavishly praises notorious Jew hater, they should put anti-Semite, Louis Farrakhan. 2 years ago at a private meeting honoring her late husband, Farrakhan came and spoke, apparently. She praised him. She is espoused anti-Semitic. Farrakhan says that Jews are wicked and comparing them to termites. She referred to Farrakhan as a friend and member of the family, telling him, I love you more than words will ever say. Mr. Farrakhan, we love you more than you love us. You just don't know it. He praised her. Anyway, so there you go. How does that make you feel? And then we have a possible recession according to CNN and CNBC and Fox Business saying that the fears of recession are now happening because the jobs report was so anemic today and the unemployment went up. We have that. We also have Wisconsin voters seething over out-of-control housing. I'm going to do some quotes on how these folks cannot afford to buy a house or live in the houses they have anymore. So my questions are, what do you think Kamala why do you think she hasn't had a press conference in 12 days since announcing or any sit-down interviews? Dana Perino said she's like cotton candy. She melts on contact, all these things she says, because it's all like, oh, I'm for this, I'm for that. And you talk to her and it's like, it's gone. So that's why she hasn't had a press conference in 12 days since announcing her sit-down interviews. And how do you think she did in her first unscripted contact with the media last night? I didn't play that for you yet. Here she is on the tarmac. Where is it? Hold on. Okay, well, I'll just pull it up on my Twitter feed. Lots of stuff on my Twitter feed here. Excuse me. Give me a second. So she was on the tarmac last night with the hostages coming home from Russia and on the giving all those arms dealers and assassins freedom for our people, which is a bad deal. Here is Kamala on the runway. She can't even have she has a moment to shine for like 20 seconds, and she repeats herself pretty badly. Here it is.
Extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances. This is an incredible day.
She literally repeated herself twice in 20 seconds. So the White House or Kamala's team literally edited what she said to look like it was what she was supposed to say because they didn't want her errors being printed in the readout of what she said. They're covering up like for Joe already. It's funny. So what kind of picture is beginning to emerge in your mind of Kamala's policies and issues? And how do you think she did in her first unscripted contact with the media last night that I just played for you? And why do you think she hasn't had a press conference in 13 days? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, I'm going to play a series of sound bites that just came out today about illegals and Christmas and how she lived large on the hog at her campaign's expense and got caught by the media, and how she's fighting for sex changes. She supports it and forces it for prisoners and for men to go in female jails.